together. So maybe in response to my question, you believe that you are the ego. Have you ever considered that maybe, just maybe, you're a lot more than that? The truth is, you're a soul having a conscious experience. Now, just take a moment here to consider the fact that we don't sense our psychological self until the ages of about 3 to 7 years old. Now, an 18 to 24-month-old baby may begin to show signs that they have this sort of concept of self because they use pronouns such as I, but really the development of self doesn't come until much later. So with this in mind, you might ask yourself, well, what was I before I had this awareness of self? And the answer is, you were consciousness. You were awareness. There's nothing else that you could have been. And the funny paradox here is that you've always been consciousness. It's just this awareness of self is what gives us the ability to understand that we are conscious beings. So if we look at this before and after, we can build this bridge, the before being the awareness and the after being the self. Smash them together and we have self-awareness, which is ego and consciousness playing together in this harmonious dance. So with this understanding, when we lose touch of the underlying consciousness that exists within us, and we resort to solely identifying with our ego, this creates certain problems, because what we've actually done is created this separation and this disconnect between two key elements of our being. And if you really think about it, especially in the Western world, this is really how we've been conditioned to think. We've been conditioned to think with our egoic mind. So of course, as a natural byproduct of this conditioning, most of us will grow up attaching our identity and our sense of self to our ego's desires, which can become a very dangerous practice because, as you've probably realized already, the ego is never satisfied. Now, just to paint an example here, I'm sure you've all heard of the phrase that money doesn't buy happiness. Well, what this really means is that it's the worship of money that doesn't buy you happiness. Now, if you're worshipping money, this is a telltale sign that your ego is in charge, because only the ego would worship such a thing, because it's only the ego that always wants more. The reality is, money is just a neutral tool that we use as a form of energy exchange. So the point is, if we're solely ego-driven, we will always be pushed to want to acquire more and more, but we'll never truly be satisfied. Why? This is because the ego is only one part of our being, and it's because this egoic drive can't meet the deeper contents of our soul. It's not nourishing for our soul. So I like to view this in terms of food. We have food for the ego and food for the soul. And if all you're doing is feeding your ego, your soul's going to grow very hungry. And so if you become so entwined in your egoic self, you will starve the soul. And over time, it becomes easy to forget that we have a soul.